YouTube and Twitch have been going completely crazy with their bans and suspensions lately. They have been removing so many people from their sites and their partner programs, and over such ridiculous reasons. I'm not someone who calls for the deplatforming of people. I do not want people to be removed from a site because they said one edgy thing. I don't want people's careers online to be ruined because they made one bad decision, but apparently YouTube doesn't think the same way that I do and would even disagree with me, because they have yet again proven to us that they're willing to push people off of their platforms for any reasons they want with this single tweet that they put out on their official Team YouTube account. They were responding to someone named Taylor Lorenz, who said YouTubers known as the Nelk Boys, after hosting an Open Up Gyms protest and partying their way through LA, are now traveling to colleges encouraging students to ignore COVID restrictions to party. Please watch these videos. This is what they're promoting to their 3.5 million young followers. Now, Team YouTube decided to respond to this in one of the worst ways possible, in my opinion. They said, if a creator's off-platform behavior harms our ecosystem, we take action to protect the community. We suspended the Nelk channel from the partner program because they encouraged large numbers of people to disregard social distancing guidelines, creating a large public health risk. This is so ridiculous on so many levels. YouTube shouldn't be moderating people for what they're doing on another platform. Worry about what's going on your own platform first. YouTube says that they're worried about protecting their ecosystem when they've got way bigger problems to deal with. I completely disagree with them doing this, and obviously I'm not the only one. People are furious over this statement, their actions, and rightfully so. There are people responding with, it shouldn't be any of your business of what people do off-platform. In fact, unless it's illegal, companies need to learn their boundaries and stay out of it in general. This is a terrible precedent. Nicholas Diorio said, if a creator's off-platform behavior harms our ecosystem, why don't you stay in your lane and moderate your site better before you care in people's Instagram accounts? Channels get wrongful strikes, users hacked, and more every day. You guys should be actively working on fixing that. Someone else said, meanwhile, people still on the platform. Lionmaker, Minilad, Onision, K. Someone else responded with, okay, demonetize Charlie D'Amelio, James Charles, Tana Mojo, Jake Paul, and many more. They went to parties. Oh wait, they bring big advertisers. My bad. YouTube seriously should be worrying about what's going on their own platform before they worry about what people are doing elsewhere. They have been a complete mess lately with enforcing their policies. Let's look at the situation with MXR. They're a reaction channel, and for a long time, they've reacted to clips, and they got a strike put on their channel recently for showing a teenager holding a firework, and they tagged it as child abuse, and YouTube even doubled down on their decision, saying the review of the video was correct, but after a little bit of backlash on social media, YouTube retracted the strike and said a mistake happened during the review process. Now let's also look at the situation with Markiplier and Critical. YouTube apologizes to Critical and Markiplier after backlash over strikes. The issue began after YouTube hit popular creator Critical with a strike on one of his videos, in which he reacted to a viral clip that showed people dressed up as popular cartoon characters getting into a staged brawl. But that's not all. YouTube later removed the video altogether, claiming it contained violent and graphic content, and Critical wasn't the only one who ended up getting punished over the clip. After speaking out on the issue and decrying YouTube's decision on Twitter, Markiplier was also hit with a strike, and his video, which featured his own reaction to a similar roadside fight, was likewise removed. This incited a wave of backlash against the platform. However, shortly after the criticisms against them began to go viral on social media, YouTube's official Twitter account issued apologies to both creators and said that they would take back the strikes. They said, "We're not going to die on this hill," they wrote in a response to Critical. "You were right. After even further review, your video and others are back up, and these strikes have been removed. This was an over-enforcement of our policies, especially with the added context/commentary, as you originally pointed out." It's pretty obvious that YouTube has been having a lot of enforcement problems lately, but the massive problem here is that they're removing people arbitrarily from the partner program and fully deplatforming people by banning them. One of the Paul brothers literally showed a dead body on your platform. It wasn't even on another website. If something deserves a ban, content that disgusting might be it. Tana Mojo has been showing herself partying during COVID on YouTube itself, and she's received no warnings and she's not banned. What about Onision and all of the things that he's done? I'm gonna put my hands up here because I'm not going to get into every example, but they're obviously not removing people who are making them big money unless they think that that person will really piss off advertisers. The last thing that they want is another adpocalypse, so they're willing to ban anyone who they think will drive advertisers off of the platform. Because they're a private company, they can remove people from their platform whenever and whyever they want. I do not think that they should be able to do that, but we really need to accept at this point that there's nothing regulating them from doing this, and because they're a private company, they can. As creators, we're all given such vague guidelines to follow, and their vague guidelines aren't applied fairly across the board. They're arbitrarily applied. We can already tell when we see YouTube reviewing content what content gets struck down and what doesn't. Seems to be up to the person reviewing it, and it's always different. One day you'll have someone saying something isn't against terms of service, and the next day apparently it is. YouTube is so worried about what's going on with other platforms, they're not even worried about what's going on with their own platform. YouTube is not in a healthy and a good place. It would be different if people had a contract with a code of conduct or a moral clause, but they need to get their own rules and guidelines in order and stop removing people's monetization because they did something on Instagram of all places. Terms of service need to be clear and need to be applied unilaterally, and it's not happening on YouTube, and that needs to change. I stand with creators, and this is something that's really getting to the point where we all have to stand up against it. I, as a creator, am going to be more diligent when things like this happen. I didn't talk about the situations with Markiplier or MXR when they happened because I'm someone who wants to cover entertainment and games and fun and positive things. But when something like this is going on, I think that it's time that we all, no matter what content we cover, need to start talking about more. In the past, I've called out YouTube when creators that I know, like Tipster News, have had problems, but now I see that we all have to call it out every time that it happens, and I plan to. I am someone who creates content on YouTube, obviously, and I want the platform to be better. I want it to thrive, but situations like this need to stop happening, and people running YouTube and moderating YouTube need to be better and way more consistent. But that's all that I really had to talk about in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What do you think about this statement from Team YouTube? If you enjoyed the video and found it important, please make sure to give it a like and share it. And of course, if you did not, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.